Hi, what's up, nerds? Jason Dutch here. Uh, Luck has it, shit comes up. So, here I am, not here, but here. Said hello to the nerds already. Also, hello to attorney Anna, who is definitely not a nerd, at least not in the sense that the other two nerds are. So, I'm going to get right into today's dig. There is a couple of video clips that are kind of with this dig. So this dig's a little bit shorter. I'm going to speed through it, and then there's a couple of videos I'll play while I'm doing this. And then Mikey, I'll send him a link to a couple others that I think if he wants to get to them, he'll have the authority to do what the fuck he wants. So let's rock and roll and get into today's dig-a-lig-a-ding-dong. So what I want to do to start it is I'm going to play a little clip from a video here. I'm going to share my screen. And this video is just a video that I came across that is from a small YouTube channel. It's probably like, I think it's from 2008. Video quality is kind of crummy. And there's music playing over it, but it's all like, free music, patriotic music and stuff like that. So I kind of checked that out. So here it is here. I'll start out by playing this and we will kind of go from there. I believe it is that tab. Boo. Yes. So here we go with this one. Actually, let me make sure that sorry, Mikey. Just want to make sure that I shared my sound here. Always forget to do that. Now we're cooking.
And I remember, is the idea of what America is. The ideal is absolutely magnificent and beautiful, and we don't always execute it the way that we should. We don't always live it the way that we should. But if we can remember what the ideal is, there's nothing like it in the world.
I think
for the most part, I agree with that particular statement, but let's continue on.
Patriotism in 2008 is doing
nice
everything
sweater.
we can to live the ideals.
How's he breathing in that sweater? Anyway, he looks very Bates Motel-ish. Come stay at my house.
That were set out in the two founding documents of our nation, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States.
The founding fathers were brilliant. Brilliant. John Adams was a serious, brilliant man.
He was smart. There's no doubt, but not sure why that's relevant.
Patriots are people who believe in a cause that is.
Pause. Haas is going to say something here, I'm sure. Anyway, back to it.
Important to them, that becomes a part of the fabric of their lives. We feel that the American flag is part of that symbol.
So again, they're talking about the association with the flag and patriotism.
And that's part of our thrust, to have everyone believe that and respect the flag. And
so everyone should believe and protect the flag. Interesting. Okay, let's keep going.
Also goes back to the history of our nation. We're a proud nation. We have great history to carry forth. And if we don't carry that message forward to our next generation, we'll lose it.
So there's some culture war there, like fear of what's coming. You got to remember in 2008, this is during the Obama McCain campaign. So I don't know if that's associated or not, but let's bear that in mind.
Patriotism is not a loyalty oath. It is the understanding that you must love your country, but always believe it can be improved. To always ask, can't we do better?
Totally agree.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal.
Not sure
before this decade is out.
What this has to
do
with patriotism.
Landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to
Pride,
the earth.
Maybe.
I think patriotism is someone who believes in his country, not right or wrong,
but he wants it to be right, and he wants to make it right.
To me,
I think that's a really good way to say it. I think that's what we do on this show, but let's continue.
the American flag represents all that goodness. Okay. And if there is badness happening, the American flag doesn't represent it.
Whoa, 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 wait, hold on. What was that again? Let's just go back a second here.
Badness happening.
Let's go back one more second.
And he wants to make it right.
To me, the American flag represents all that goodness.
All that goodness is what is reflected by the American. This is super key to what today's dig is, guys. All that goodness is represented by the American flag.
Okay. And if there is badness happening, the American flag doesn't represent it.
Okay, that's nationalism. I'm going to stop sharing this now, and I'm going to play one more clip from another video before I get into the dig. This is super short, and it's from our favorite contributor to the show. Let's see here. Looks like it is this one here. So let's share that. Sorry, I'm a little slow here today. Hey, look, it's our old friend. This is a couple minutes, but I won't play the whole thing.
I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists.
Well, look at that fire in her eyes.
That actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have...
By the way, Hitler was not a fucking socialist. We discussed that last week. Not a socialist. Just because you call yourself a socialist does not make you one. What you do makes you one, right or wrong.
Have things run well. Okay, fine.
So again, that was deflection. But anyway.
Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
All right, so my first question is to Ms. Hirschhoff.
I'm going to skip a little bit forward here.
Ms. Owens said,
from those comments later. I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Liu believes.
And I should mention what that lady said. She said Miss Owens distanced herself from that a little bit, but now she'll watch this.
That black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again. Witness may continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all.
In her defense there, and I hate to do this, she said that he thinks black people are stupid, which is, of course, a straw man argument. But she didn't say he was stupid. So technically she's right, but who cares? That's not the point.
You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Nadler.
Please.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not go pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully he cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me.
Oh, right. Like conservatives never do that. Again, that's a straw man from me, but hypocrisy.
He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact, the question that was asked of me was pertaining.
Well, you were launching a defense of Hitler, and you're about to prove it right now with your next sentence.
To whether or not I believed that Hitler whether or not I believed in nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip. And
Did you hear that? a nationalist would not kill their own people. But it comes down to who is their own people. I'm sure you guys will pause me here and discuss that. That's the danger of nationalism. Okay, so now that you have a little bit of context on some different ideas about this, let's get into the dig. So, oh, you know what? Actually, let me stop sharing that first because I'm an idiot. All right, now my 8th grade social studies teacher taught me things that turns out after doing my own research wasn't exactly the whole story. And this week, we will dive into the topic of what the actual fuck is patriotism anyway. Well, I guess we're going to find out. According to Oxford Dictionary, it is the quality of being patriotic, devotion to and vigorous support for one's country. Wikipedia defines patriotism as the feeling of love, devotion, and sense of attachment to one's country. This attachment, Wikipedia notes, can be a combination of many different feelings, language relating to one's homeland, including ethnic, cultural, political, or historical aspects. The educational site thoughtco.com defines patriotism as the feeling of love for one's country. They go a little deeper and offer that demonstrating patriotism or being patriotic is one of the necessities of being the stereotypical, quote, good citizen. However, patriotism, like many well-intentioned things, can be harmful when taken to extremes. They add that it can evoke kinship with fellow citizens one also views as patriotic, but offer that an extreme and often harmful version of harmful feeling of nationalism, while sharing patriotism's love of country, it adds the belief that one's home country is superior to others. So therefore, not the same thing, as we will go through. Though they do share that trait. So what is nationalism? So to illustrate, to educate, that website breaks this down pretty well, I feel, and they do so via looking at history. Go figure. Look at history. Who could have guessed that that might be important? Wish we thought of it. Anyway, Illustrate to Educate notes that patriotism can be dated back to at least 1653. And the word comes from the Greek word patrios, which means a waffle. No, it means one of one's father is what patrios means. And notes that there is not much evidence of nationalism until the 1800s or so. And it was largely an interchangeable term with patriotism to begin with. They offer that nationalism has changed meaning over the last couple hundred years, but that patriotism, in their view, has remained largely unchanged in definition, at least until super recently here. So patriotism includes support, love, and a defense of a country. But nationalism includes exalting one nation's culture and interest above all others, and often at the expense of others. It ignores the common interests of other countries. There is no consensus on this, by the way, with scholars and social scientists. But generally, patriots may believe that one's nation is inherently good. Things like freedom, justice, equality, bravery, and working together for a better quality of life is part of what keeps them patriotic. You heard a lot of that in the first video that I played with those kind of different narratives that people were just giving in that documentary. Simply put, they are proud of their country, like me, when it does good, but disappointed when it does bad. We'll get to that. Nationalism, however, distrusts or disapproves of other countries almost automatically, especially countries that they don't identify as like, right? And nationalism is used typically as a political vehicle. It is a negative connotation. Nationalism is an extreme, exclusionary view that disapproves of immigrants and often disapproves of those immigrants based on racial or religious grounds. It holds the general belief that one should be proud of their country no matter what it does. So unlike patriotism, proud when it does good, I'm proud America rocks all the time, even when committing genocide. Or that, and I'm adding here, or that it was the bad things we did have always been for the greater good or ordained by God, depending on who you're talking to, right? Like God destroyed Jericho, killed all those people, all those kids, but they had done something wrong. Israel was God's people, therefore justify deaths. Israel not accountable for. A lot of times the ideas of nationalism tie into that. When people try to be patriotic about things like slavery, what we did to Native Americans, things we've done in the Middle East, things we've done in Latin America, etc. But anyway, Robert Reich says loudly that nationalism is not about patriotism. He says patriotism is about inclusion, but nationalism about exclusion. He says this is used by demagogues in power who use anger and fear to target scapegoats rather than tackling real issues. Couldn't have figured that out. George Orwell, who's pretty noted as being against nationalism, is quoted as saying a bunch of things here, but one of which is, quote, although endlessly brooding on power, victory, defeat, and revenge, the nationalist is uninterested in what happens in the real world. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's interesting. Quote, although endlessly brooding on power, victory, defeat, and revenge, the nationalist is uninterested in what actually happens in the real world. It's the narrative that matters. You can never truly defeat the monster in the closet, of course, because the monster in the closet generally isn't real. But if you did defeat it, nothing to be nationalist about. Mr. Beat, who I love to quote, a history YouTuber, says there is a movement amongst Trump supporters and the American right to reassociate the word nationalism with patriotism. This is being led by PragerU, of course. He adds that nationalism can lead to war, as was the case in World War I and World War II. So with this, we will head into the discussion on patriotism by doing two things: showing the difference between it and nationalism, and then defining for ourselves what it means to be patriotic. I kind of already started that, and then I'll let the guys continue that. What qualifies as patriotism? What is not necessary? Is it even important to be patriotic to begin with? So in closing, I give one last thought on what patriotism is, and perhaps the best one I found in my own opinion. I will link this article because it's more than an article, it's a study. Really good study. I'll link it to the notes after we publish. From the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, says the dictionary definitions of patriotism may well be too thin and in need of some fleshing out. In the first philosophical book-length study on the subject of patriotism, Stephen Nathanson in 1993 defined it as following. This is patriotism to Nathanson. 1, special affection for one's country. 2, a sense of personal identification with one's country. Both those things are relatively benign. 3, a special concern for the well-being of one's country. Again, benign. In fact, more than benign. That is really good. I am concerned about the well-being of people in this country. That's why I want things like, Medicare for all, people to make money, etc. And number 4, willingness to sacrifice to promote the country's good. Again, at the lowest end, super benign. Stanford goes on to offer, at least in my opinion, the guys might disagree. Stanford goes on to offer this interesting thought, and I preface by saying it's a thought that encourages more thought, which is what I like about it. They say, a fuller account of patriotism is beyond the scope of this entire article. Such an account would say something about the patriot's beliefs, about the merits of his country, his need to belong to a group, and be part of a more encompassing narrative. To be related to a past and a future that transcend the narrow confines of an individual's life and concerns, as well as social and political conditions that affect the ebbs and flows of patriotism. It's political and cultural influence plus more. It needs more discussion. So let's discuss. Guys, I'm done. And then I got, there's a couple videos I've given Mikey to link, one from PragerU and one that you guys are just going to lose your fucking balls. Anna has, sorry. But anyway, you're going to lose your shit on this one. But it is hilariously ridiculous. So with that being said, peace out. I'll see you suckers next week. Bye.